Okay. So here's the thing. Java, previously, pre-Java 4, we don't have any of these features called annotations, generics, auto boxing, or yeah, enhanced for loop. All those are does not exist. They were not part of Java at all before that. People, if they were to write, they were doing on their own. Okay, at least annotations or auto boxing thing. With Java 5, they started introducing all these within Java framework. So let's see what actually Java has it. Okay, like what does it mean and all that stuff here. So they introduced something called like version number. Previously, if you guys were aware, they always used to say Java 2 and all that. From 5 onwards, they it is actually, when we say Java 2, it is 1.2 actually, 1.2 version of Java, but it was famous and stable for quite some time. That's why J2EE is famous. Now no longer we should say J2EE. We got to say Java EE. Okay, I'm a Java EE developer, not J2EE developer anymore. If you say J2EE developer, you're still in the backward version of it. Okay, just remember that. It's fine. Then these are all just nomenclature. Don't even worry about it. Mm, okay. Now, so Java syntax has several improvements. Topics covered specifically in this paper include like generics, enhanced for loop, you guys know already, and auto boxing or unboxing. I mentioned it briefly on my day one or day two of the class, but we'll see in detail. And what are these enumerations, type safe enumerations, static import, metadata via annotations. So let's talk about these one after the other. Okay, that way it makes more sense to you. Any question? Okay, fine. Let's move on. So need for generics. At first glance, Java's generics feel similar to those of us who have used C++ templates, but Java generics are so much more. Java provides many opportunities for manipulating the objects, where the actual object type is stripped and must be resupplied using a cast when the object is used later. So generally, before generics, we used to do wrong castings. Like I assume my object is of certain type, and without checking that object is of a instance of certain type, we used to do a typecasting, and we ended up getting class cast exceptions in runtime. Okay, but with generics in place, like if you see simple generics example here for us, you have created an array list, right? This is pre-generics syntax. See here, compiler is complaining about list of raw type. Reference to generic type should be parameterized. So what happens here? This is all string, right? I know I'm adding it as all strings. So if I put string here, then it stops complaining about it. See? If I put it as string, then it stops complaining about it. Even iterator, it is complaining about it is a raw type. I know these are all strings, so if I set it as string, it will not give that warning. It's not actually an error, but it's just a warning, right? So here, or I just need to put it like this. Actually, it is not throwing an error here. Probably it's throwing an error in, not error, warning. So the type of expression predicate iterator needs unchecked conversion to confirm to string. So I can't do this like this one, right? It doesn't let me do it probably. Let's see. No, I cannot do it like this. Probably what I need to do is in this constructor here, I should say it's a string constructor. So this way, okay, this way we are pretty sure, okay, I'm passing a string object and it is dealing with string objects. So compiler is comfortable with it, with its type safety. Let me see how else we can fix this guy. It's not going to change anything here. Infer, yeah, I said infer generic type, but it did not print. Yeah, So leave unconstrained type raw rather than inferring this. Let me say, no, it's not doing anything to the code. So let's see exactly. The expression of type predicator needs unchecked conversion to confirm to iterator this. Okay. Maybe, yeah. When it doesn't work this way, I used to do something like this. Then it will go away, but it's not a better way. Just that compiler does not recognize sometimes. Because here, in this case, if you see, this is valid, right? Okay, so this is valid, and it should not be complaining about it. So I'm just suppressing that warning by making sure like this. But idea is to always pass the arguments here. Okay. So compiler knows the type safety check. So it knows, oh, okay, it's dealing with off type string. So pre Java 5, we don't have this kind of syntax. So we used to end up in typecast exceptions. Okay, this is helping us preventing those typecast exception by telling the compiler upfront, oh, this is what I'm trying to do. Okay, fine. So need for a generics example. To illustrate the need for generics, look at this. Array list, for loop, raise runtime error. Like here, I dot next, I am typecasting to string. Okay, but this iterator can have anything. It just need not have string. Here we have integer objects also. See here, because this is also of type object. It used to allow even the integer objects within it. And when we have integer object and we just say typecast it to string, it throws an error, class cast exception. Okay, so we are just preventing those. So if you declare the array itself as string, and if you add an integer object, compiler itself will complain. So there is no scope for runtime exception for that. Okay. Then generics to the rescue. Using generics allows specification of a allowable data type for a Java object so that the compiler will catch the data type errors. Okay. So generic syntax specifies the data type inside less than and greater than symbols as follows. Okay. This is what is generics. And even on the right hand side, that string is there, right? Even we need not put that. It is inferred now with Java 7, and that is called diamond operator. You will just have a less than or a greater than symbol without anything in between. It will be same as what the reference type is talking about, which is called diamond operator. Okay, fine. Moving forward. Generics. The example below shows the string class, but the class may be any class available in your class path. Let's see. The compiler uses the data type specified to restrict what may be placed into an object and at the compiler time, at the compile time. So let's see, array list, and we have new list. We are adding two string objects to it, and then following line raises a compilation error, which is what we discussed just now, right? So that way we are safe. Then lint is not just in your naive. The lint command has long been used in Unix world to verify C program syntax, data type use, and portability of code. So in the same way, new Java 5 and 6 compilers switch excellent, allowing compiler to flag potential. The thing is whether it has to conform to 5 Java 5 version or Java 6 version or not. We can specify it by enabling excellent flag. Now you guys don't need to know about it. You're going to use Java 7 only. Okay. Okay. So it's like whether you want to check for deprecated ones or not. Like there was a switch before, like from 4.0 to 5.0, 1.4 to 5.0. There are like a bunch of new stuff that happened, right? So that's why if you don't want to check those in production, we can actually enable this flag. But now we are like more stabilized, and it's been like more than 5 years, close to 5 years. Java 5 is out, and you guys are now dealing a stable version of Java 7. So don't even worry about it. And just remember, lint syntax is nothing but it is actually helping you to enable or disable some features within Java. Okay. So options for X lint includes all, get all lint warnings, deprecation, and finally block cannot be complete, path. So all these will be displayed because of this particular feature if it is enabled. So lint warnings, here is what lint warnings look like. Yeah, warning unchecked, we got this right, unchecked call to add as a member of the so this is all because lint is enabled. Okay, fine. So now let's deal with arrays. Okay, arrays.toString. Java.util.arrays class has new method including a toString method. So we talked about arrays and collections yesterday briefly. Right? These are like utility classes. Okay, these are like utility classes and not part of collections framework. Okay, so you want to convert a primitive array of type int to an object. Okay, so how are you going to convert it? So you're going to use arrays.toString. That means you're going to get a string output, okay, of the array that you are passing, and we can display it onto the console like this. Okay, and arrays.deep toString. So here is the toString, and let's see what is deep toString. So if you have a multidimensional array, display the content of a multidimensional array. The results of using arrays.toString and arrays.toDeepString are illustrated below. First, using arrays.toString, the contents of the first level show as objects. So that means these are like objects within an object, right? If you remember multidimensional array, it is like a matrix and a object, and within that object you have one more object, right? So if you just use a normal toString, it is showing all the object IDs. Instead, if you use deep toString, you will get all the numbers. Okay, all the numbers properly displayed. Deep is like going nested, like it is going beyond the first level of nesting of the objects. Then other additions to arrays class like deep equals, deep hash code, and hash code. So these are all various utility methods. Okay? Then so other for loop, we know enhanced for loop, right, already. So we don't need to talk about this. And then object to and from primitive issues. Like so we got a little bit background on generics, and when we are using it, we'll know much more about it. And that's about generics we talked a couple of slides ago. But now what we are dealing with is called auto boxing and unboxing. Like previously, what we used to do is create an integer object and we get the int value here, right? So that means integer object dot int value will give you a primitive value. Okay, and here double primitive, and we are converting it into a double object. You guys know the difference, right? Primitives versus our objects. So integer, double, all these classes are called wrapper classes, if you remember that from our beginning, like first or second week. But with Java 5.0 onwards, we got auto boxing and unboxing. What does that mean? So you don't need to do that integer int object dot int value. It gets automatically converted. Okay, but here again, it gets automatically converted. Okay, so so they made it easy. When you are converting int to integer object, it is called boxing, and integer object to int object, it is called unboxing. Okay, let's see that. So that means advent of automatic boxing and automatic unboxing greatly simplifies the code when using collection and other types of objects. Boxing and unboxing is also important since primitive data and reference type data are stored in a different places. So representing local variables are stored on stack while objects are stored in heap. That means these primitive variables are stored in stack, whereas the real objects are stored in heap, right? We discussed this in JVM. Stack is all temporary variables, whereas and reference types, whereas objects are stored in heap. Okay, so boxing. When an integer is assigned to an object, the system boxing makes a copy of the value on the heap and points the object to the new value. That means when you have int abc equals to 1 2 3, it is part of stack, yellow stack here. But when you are converting it to an object O equal to ABC, that means you constructed an object within heap and pointing object O to that one, not the stack variable. This is all happening behind the scenes when we are doing a boxing. Okay. And unboxing. When an object is assigned to an integer, unboxing copies the value from the heap into the local store, like stack variable. That means you have an object, and now int def equals to object. That means that object is copied over to the stack, and int def is actually referring to that. So unboxing is nothing but object to primitive conversion. Boxing is nothing but primitive to object conversion. All these are happening automatically. So you guys need not worry about like oh, integer dot int value, or new converting an int to a integer object, all that stuff. It's all done automatically. But one downside to this, after I used it a lot, is if this int object is null, you will get a null pointer exception. Like you'll get a null pointer exception, and you will not know why it threw a null pointer exception. But though int object is null, when you assign it to here, what it is trying to do, int object dot int value behind the scenes, int anything dot throws a null pointer if that object is null. Okay, so that's why you got to be really careful. um you guys understand what I'm talking about? You guys understand what I'm talking about here? Let me give an example. Okay, see, so I converted this to test double and passed it here. And here I set it to, so here I'm passing a double object, and here I'm accepting a double primitive. That means by the time this method is invoked and went inside, double like test double dot double value is executed. Okay, so fine. In the first time, this is not null, so we are good. And here I am explicitly setting it to null. Okay, I'm explicitly setting it to null, and this actually is passing this guy. So it's trying to do test double dot double value, and it may throw null pointer, and it will be hard to find also, because in the method null pointer shows here this method, like null pointer shows this number, and it will not show this method. It will show line number this one, and it is hard for us to figure out, oh, why is it happening, why is it happening. Okay, so that's why be careful when you use it like this. Good idea is to do this and explicitly checking it here. Okay, good idea is to explicitly check here. So this may introduce this risk, though boxing and unboxing is good, but it may introduce this risk. Okay, so I just want to share my understanding, that's all. Okay, any questions? Any questions? Okay. Okay, fine. Enum. What is an enum? Okay, so this was also introduced with Java 5.0. What is enum is? Enum is also a class. Okay, enum is a class. Um, if C programmers knows enum already, it has a data type enum. Enum allows assignment of a specific set of values to be associated. Okay, that means weekdays is there. So within weekdays, you can have Monday, Tuesday, and all that stuff. And um, so you can use a specific set, and here in the class you will get all those specific set. When you instantiate it, you can actually access weekdays that are available in here. So that means whenever you want to compare something, like UI is posting a string. Okay, UI is posting a string called Wednesday. Okay, and they may post it as like uppercase Wednesday or lowercase Wednesday, or camel case Wednesday and stuff like that. Okay, so when you do all that stuff, um, okay, can you guys give me like 5 minutes? I forgot to do. Okay, one second here. Okay, so enum, this all again started from sorry, this all again started from Java 5.0, and it is actually group of strings within an enum class. We are actually saying like see weekdays, and it's like if you use it like this, it's like a data type, right? So using enums, and we are setting a bunch of strings as enum, and we are using it within the static main method. So this lets you use bunch of strings. Okay, and each of these string is of type weekdays. Okay, Monday is not a string in here, it is of type weekday, and Tuesday is not a string in here, it is converted to of type weekdays, like that. Okay, so all these bunch of these strings converted to a type of class. What I was talking about just before I left was on the UI. Okay, people may say Wednesday, like the thing is, you may want to display something else on the UI, and but when UI posts something, you want it to be really controlled by the server. Okay, so they may be posting lowercase, uppercase, or something, but you ultimately want to receive a weekday from the UI. Then you will use an enum to convert the string that they pass to an enum. So that way it is actually controlled by the strings, and display values and updates to the database are all controlled by the server. So that is one use of enums. Okay, when once I show it, you will know more about it. Okay, so here, say for example, here you have a switch case. Pre Java 7, you cannot do a switch case on strings. We discussed this already, right? you can only do a switch case on either the primitive data types or objects of type string of the type wrapper classes, integers, double and stuff like that. And you can do on enums. On strings it is not allowed. So that's when it came in pretty handy to convert the string to an enum and do a switch case like this. Okay. This is one other application of enum. Why enum is used? Previously, we cannot do a comparison of of strings on the switch case like this. So that's when we used enum. Um, let's see a little more. So if you look at this public enum US holiday, so we have New Year's Day and Martin Luther King Day and all this, right? So these are all the number of the day. Okay. um some number they put in randomly. There is no 1125, but yeah, but this is like month and day, probably month and day like that. Okay. um so when we are doing it in the code, we don't want to explicitly look for 11, right? It can change each year. Okay. Or there are like if it is Independence Day, it can be always fourth. But everything else can be changed in US, right? Other than Christmas, Christmas and New Year's Day, Christmas and Independence Day, everything else can be changed, right? So, so that's why we want to check today is US holidays dot memorial day dot get day or Independence Day dot get day, like that. If you compare these, um, then you want to do some logic. That's when you use an enum. That means you're converting all these as strings. Okay, all these are of type US holiday now. New Year's Day, Martin Luther King Day, Presidency, all these are of type US holidays. And within that you can have incorporate logic like if UI posts a date 118, you know that you're going to compare it with Martin Luther King. Making sense? Like if UI posts a date 118, you're going to check, is it part of US holidays? How are you going to check? Enum dot value of 118. That is going to give us Martin Luther King. Then we are going to say, oh, today is Martin Luther King Day. So it's a holiday. Something like that. Okay. So it is actually giving us a little more flexibility. So server knows what UI is posting. If server posted 18.1, then it will not know. So that way it is actually bringing in a contract between a client and a server. Like it has to be always month first and date and day next. That kind of contract. That means if UI posts only that way, then it can recognize it as Martin Luther King Day or something like that. Okay. So that way we are actually enforcing it, a rule that server should be posting what client understands. Okay. So if some intruder comes in and they change the text back and forth, server may not recognize and it may throw invalid enum exception. And we are safe. Like if there is any problem, we cannot recognize that. And uh, that will not bring check this US holiday stuff. This may not be a very good example with US holidays, the example I gave, but it can be really good when you're dealing with statuses like your application has various statuses like active, inactive, and stuff like that. So you can actually control those in your application code in the enum like this, rather than actually um, asking the client to send those statuses. Okay. If you want, actually, I can show a good example of this. Probably, let's see. Okay. Okay, I'll come back onto this shortly. I didn't want to make you guys wait some more time. Okay, so let's see what this particular thing is doing. Okay, so t-shirt. Okay, so what exactly we have a test class anywhere. Let's see where we can execute it, right? Otherwise, okay. So okay, this is one class. Okay, so I need to fix this anyway. So let's see. Okay, see here. So you have get primaries. Okay, so what exactly all this is talking about, right? So you can have bunch of strings defined as one type. So color can have n different stuff. That means if your application has something like status, say suppose, you can have n different statuses and you need not expose it to anyone, right? So when some status is being given from a client, you can just validate, oh, whether that falls in this enumerations. Uh, okay, if it falls in enumerations, then it is supported. Otherwise, it's not supported. Something like that. Okay, so you need not show it to anyone, and code is on the server, so nobody can look at it, and that way it introduces some layer. Okay, but enum, what is an enum? If somebody asks you what is an enum, it's like enumerating stuff, right? Enumerating is nothing but listing some stuff, and it is of type class. Okay, enum is also a class. So all these are not strings anymore. The moment you define it in the moment you define it within an enum, all these are no longer strings. Those are of type. Navy is of type color. Okay, black is of type enum color. Red is of type enum color. Like that. Okay, So um, it's no longer a string anymore. Okay? And how are you going to use it? So take this example. So list of all primaries, right? What are the list of primaries? Red, blue, and yellow are the primary colors. So you can categorize them as enum set. That means you are supporting a few different enums. Those are red, blue, and yellow. Few different colors that you are supporting. And you can categorize secondary colors. Secondary colors are what? Everything is a color, right? Secondary colors are what here? They mentioned it as like a complement of get primaries. Complement is what? Anything that is not part of primary is going to be complement, right? So it's going to be green, orange, and purple, right? So those will be displayed here. And universe is all colors that are part of color class. And what is that color class doing? These are all the universal colors. And what are all the sizes? And it is talking about size being incorrect, right? It says size is incorrect. Let's see why. 2x, delete this token. 2 and 3x, delete this token. Okay, let me actually define it in a little bit different way. Probably that's when it is going to. I cannot put a string like that. Okay, you cannot start with a number, just like a conventions you follow in the class, right? In the same way, you cannot have a you cannot have something that starts with a number. Okay, so now you know the sizes, list of sizes that have been supported, and list of colors that have been supported. And what we are doing in colors 3, we are just displaying everything. Let's see what it is right now. Let's execute it. So here, if you see the sample, okay, primary colors are these, secondary colors are these, and the ones supported are these. So that means anything that's given by UI, we are going to say in the arguments, I'm going to pass some value. Okay. So if I pass some value, then only I'm reading that value. Otherwise, I'm reading it as null. So what I'm trying to do here, if input not equal null, input dot length greater than 0, what I'm trying to do, mm, so I'm constructing it like this. So this is what I'm talking about. If UI passes me something, I'm going to validate it. Okay, I'm going to validate it by saying like colors dot value of 3. Then I'm pretty confident that okay, I support that, and proceed further. Okay, so okay, so this is a supported color like that. So that means if this does not exist, the input that I pass does not exist, it's going to throw an invalid enum exception. So that way we are safe, like we are not executing for the values that are that are not being supported. Okay, let's try executing it. So I'm going to pass an argument now, blue. If I say blue, it may not understand, right? It is supporting a uppercase one. Okay, let's see what it is going to do. Hmm? It read the value. See here, input is blue. See, it will not know. Okay, this was the thing I'm talking about. Invalid, no enum of type in colors 3 of lowercase. So all these complications, like, client should post exactly how server is supporting, otherwise it will not know. So that way we are making it a really tight contract. Okay, so if I pass something like uppercase blue, then you're okay. See here. So now it did not throw that exception. It identified blue. Okay. So that way we are actually bringing in the contract for enums. Okay. That way we are bringing in the contract for enums. And enum is a, what is an enum? Enum is a class. So now what you know, till now you know, you saw Java has classes, Java has interfaces, Java has exceptions and errors, and now Java has enums also supported. Okay. So this way you can enumerate the list of things that have been supported, and client can actually post only those for this to be executed. So you can ask me a question like, oh, okay, this is enum which is introduced with Java 5. So can't we exist without enums? Yes, we can exist without enum. And all it is trying to do is server is clean. Like you need not be saying like, oh, I don't support lowercase, I don't support uppercase. Oh, this is happening because developer did not check the case and all that. No, I am supporting these enums. You pass it like how my enums are there, and I'm going to support those. Otherwise, I'm not going to support. That way, we are explicitly defining our contract between the client and the server. This is one application of it I notice. And one other thing, whether it is advantageous or not, like say you're supporting like 3 or 4 states in your application, and you save these states in the database as ordinals. Like enums have ordinals. That means ordinal of red is 0, ordinal of blue is 1, yellow is 2, like our index in array. Okay, so I can store these statuses in the database as those numbers. So that way, whoever has access to just database and does not have access to the code cannot determine the states. That means they cannot understand how our application statuses are managed by looking at the database. They should really get a handle on our code as well. That way, we are introducing one more layer of security that, oh, okay, good. Even if somebody gets access to our database, um, if they don't know the code, they don't know the status that we are supporting. Okay, that's one thing. It's kind of advantageous, and also at the same time, somebody is doing a business warehouse or business analytics. They don't know what are all these ordinals, and they may be really mad at developers. Oh, why did they put it here like that? It could be like just strings, right? If it is strings, it is easy for them. They need not have to contact the developer. Oh, what are these 0, 1, 2, and 3, stuff like that. So whether it's an advantage or not, there is a security layer that we are introducing, which is good. That is my opinion. Yeah. Okay. So you should be able to answer what an enum is. Enum is a class, and it can enumerate list of values that are being supported, and whether they are being supported or not, you can check by using the value of, by passing in the string, and check that enum of type color in this case is supported or not. Okay. And how can you do list of like a collection of enums? You can use enum set to see collection. Okay. And if you want to list all the enum values, you're going to say color3 dot values. That way you can see list of all the values that have been supported. Okay, that's pretty much about it on enum. If you have any questions, or if you are still confused on what is the use, we can talk a little bit more. Otherwise, I can move forward to static imports. Are you guys okay? Oh, you guys are on mute. Are you guys okay now? Can we move forward to static imports?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, fine. Let's move forward. Allow imports of static elements. That means this is the class, and it has like parseInt method. Okay, and where is this parseInt method coming from? Integer object. Okay, where is this parse double method coming from? Integer object. So we are like previously we used to say double dot parseInt, double dot integer dot parseInt everywhere. Instead, now they made it a static methods. So you can just say import that directly, like static import allows import of static items when methods or variables are used repeatedly. Okay, so that way you can do a static import and move forward. Okay, this is just a sample. Okay, this is pretty handy, like you need not do double dot everywhere. That is one other thing. Then metadata via annotations. What are these annotations all about? Java introduced a method for adding metadata to package and type declarations. um, you can add little more information to it. Metadata is nothing but data about data. It can talk about little more information about those methods, more information about those constructors, parameters, and stuff like that. So Java's compiler introduces several annotations, including mm, java.lang.override. Like whenever we have written these classes, right, that are implementing interfaces. Remember, we have written few interfaces, right? Let's see. So when we used our oops concepts here, okay, let's see if there is any interface that we can discuss. So when you're actually implementing a clonable interface, it asks you, right, whether you want to clone it or not. Let's see those kind of examples. All I'm talking about is it overrides some stuff, right? It overrides that interface. We didn't have any example of it. I'm surprised. Let's see. So when we are actually creating a concrete class, it asks you what is the interface that it is overriding on. So I'm going to say test interface, right? So test interface is implementing that. So that means you have to override. This is the annotation that I'm. This is an annotation. See, so that means it is telling the compiler, oh, it's an overridden method from here. Okay. So this is an annotation. That means it is giving an extra information, right? It is giving extra information to the interface. Oh, okay. This is overriding it. Okay. It is giving extra information to the compiler. So that is called metadata. Okay. So Java compilers also generate errors if annotations are used incorrectly. If other errors occur, that means if I put a override and say implementation, it's going to complain. What is it overriding? It doesn't know. So see here, this error is different, but let me put it in a different way. See here. So I said it is overriding. So it is overriding it. But what is it overriding? It doesn't know. It did not know which one it is overriding. If you have specified this guy in the interface, it would know, oh, this is overriding that method if you put an override annotation. Otherwise, it will throw an error as well. That's the thing they were talking about. Okay. So if you go back in here, now there is no error. And if you remove override also without adding it, also it is fine. Like with if you remove it here, and if you don't have an override annotation, then it is good. If you start adding override annotation, it throws an error if it does not exist. Okay, so that's how. So all these annotations help you do bunch of more stuff than like it's not only just giving more information. A few configurations later, we see instead of doing it in an XML, we start doing it in Java code, and it is much more cleaner to maintain. At the same time, we have to do new builds, but that's a different story. The thing is, it is giving more information. It also helping us a lot on the configurations. Okay, let's see. Given the following use of override, compiler errors if a method above does not match a signature of a super type. Okay, and then annotation deprecated. So that means anything that we no longer going to support in subsequent releases, we are going to say deprecated. Deprecated means code is not removed, support is going to be removed eventually. That means it's obsolete to use that methods. It's obsolete to use those methods. Eventually, in subsequent versions, we are going to delete those methods. That's the reason we mark those as deprecated. Okay, so that's one annotation we use predominantly in our code base whenever we are deprecating something. Okay, then suppress warnings. We use this. Remember, when we are getting raw checks like compiler to turn off compiler warnings, we use that suppress warnings. And then so these annotations gives more details. What you need to know for now, what is an annotation? It gives more details to the compiler about the code base that we are writing. Okay, for core Java, if you just remember this, you're good. But when we move to subsequent classes like after core Java, you will start appreciating annotations a little more. Okay, formatted output, what is this? Even though Java offers the excellent Java.text package, classes, and methods for formatting of data, people with a C background still miss printf and its functionality. So that's why Java added a formatter class with new capabilities to all of the Java output methods. So all this while we were using just the system.out.println, right, to output. Now there are like more methods as well, so we can start using those. Formatting may be applied using the locale and may be directed to a sink. That means an sink is like a this is from thermodynamics background, like source and sink. Source is nothing but where information. If you are talking in computer science background, source is like where you read the information, and sink is where you spill out your information. So that's the thing they are talking about. Formatting may be applied using a locale and may be directed to a sink. Okay, and print stream class includes methods for format printf. So these are like various ways you can do formatting, and these are like improvements. Okay, um, here, so if the argument is null, the result is false. So if you are trying to format something, let's see if I have an example. Looks like I don't. Let's see. Let's create one. Okay. So this is the main method, and what we are trying to talk about is, okay, if the argument is null, the result is false. If it is boolean or boolean, the result is the string returned by the boolean. Okay. Let's see. Oh, these are all various characters. Okay. So let's see a sample in here. So what I'm talking about, okay, system dot format. It has like a, so we are going to say balance. Okay, my number is something like that. Then what are we going to do? Format balance is, we're going to put a dollar, and we're saying percentage. Okay, percentage comma, so we need a comma, 6.2 f, let's see what it is, and then do a value in here. So what is it printing out? So that means it is printing out comma, because you said 6.2, that means 1 2 3 4 5 6, and you need two decimal places. Okay, you need two decimal places. Let me put it as like 4. What does it show, right? I just want to see how it is. So 20.46. So we didn't have more than 4, that's why it did not put anything in there after two decimals, right? So I put 120, say, suppose. Okay, it did not put anything yet. I'll put 2. Did not put anything. So what does this 6.6.2 defines, right? I just want to make sure we understand that part here. So I'm going back a little bit. So let's see. So we know, okay, now, so if something is of boolean, we know percentage b to be used. And if something is of type, like if boolean output as true or false, okay, true or false, we are going to use percentage h. Here it's a boolean as an object in the top. This is boolean as an object or boolean as a stuff, and boolean, the result is true. Formats boolean output as true or uppercase true. So to do uppercase true or null, we're going to use these. And to format something to a string, we're going to use this. And so there are like various, these are all part of even C programming ways to do these. Like percentage f is a float, or like float value, or percentage c is character value, something like that, right? So we have all these defined in here, which is all good. But what I want to emphasize on is, okay, what I want to emphasize on, this is to format timing, time zones, and all that. What I want to enforce is, what is this percentage 6 doing in here, right? That's what we want to understand. So when I say percentage 6.2 f, okay, what is this 6 doing here? Percentage 6.2 f balance. Okay, let's see. System.format class. Okay, formatter. So here is the thing. So you have introduced a formatter, and you're saying percentage 4 dollar 2. Um, let's see if there is any explanation about why did we use percentage 6, right? Did you see a system class in here somewhere? STUV. Why I cannot see a system class? System dot out. print stream dot printf, right? So what is trying to do? Okay, locale and format. So format, a format string as described in format string syntax. Let's see that. So what does this guy say? Every method which produces a formatted output requires a format string. Okay. The format string which may contain fixed text, one or more embedded formatting this thing. Okay. Argument index. So percentage argument index. Um, Argument index is this flags with. Okay. So the optional argument index is a decimal integer indicating the position of the argument in the argument list. So if you say the first argument is referenced by this, and the second argument by this. Okay. So what did we say in here? We said dollar is to format it here, and we said percentage comma 6.2 f. Okay. I'm trying to make sure why did we give that. Okay, so here do not correspond to arguments. Okay, did somebody say something? Hmm, what is this 6 doing in here? So if I say 6.2, then it's printing comma, right? If I don't say 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so it said it's going to introduce comma. This one I know is 2 decimal, which is good. But here, 6, what is that 6 doing? Hmm, let's try it out in a different way. Okay, let me see. What did he put in? 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So it introduced a comma here. And if I say 4, even then it did it, right? So it's not doing any significant thing here for us. Did you guys see any difference, or am I missing something? Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 5, 4, 6. If I put 8 also, it's the same, right? Yeah. What is the difference then? Why are we using this? If I don't put anything in here, what happens? Let's see. Still the same. Hmm. Maybe it's not compiling. Let's compile it. Why would it do this? Let's see. So I did not put anything now. Let's try and execute it. Yeah, it still gave it. So that means all it has been controlled was by this saying comma. So let me just quickly do a search. 8 bytes of the stack as double. So if you have a 6.2 float, you have 8 bytes as double. There is an outside chance that this would cause a memory fault for misaligned access. It would require 64 byte. I don't know. Like I never cared that much for to use this and worry about um, bytes and stuff like that for this formatting. So that means it will read 8 bytes off of the stack as a double. Okay, that means we are just saying what how much it has to read. So then I can give anything. Okay, so balance is dollar. So here it is not displaying anything. Okay, here also it's not displaying anything because it cannot read 100 from a byte, right? Byte has only 8. Let's say 10. Did I try 10 already before? Yeah. So that means, okay. So double is what? 32 bit, right? Let me see, 32. Double is 64 or 32? Float is, yeah, float is 64. Double is 32. Okay.
The space.
Float is 32, double is 64. Sorry, if I misinterpreted it. But here is the thing. Oh, it's putting in those many spaces, looks like. Did you guys notice
Yes.
it? Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah. So, okay. But why? Oh, okay. Previously also maybe it printed out. Maybe we did not notice it. Okay, let's see here. Yeah, I was thinking it's not printing, but it would have printed somewhere on the right. Yeah, it printed out here. Okay, so that is just to print out how many spaces. So no need to worry about it. So I just wanted to be a little more detailed. Okay, so now that we know this is for introducing spaces, and this is for number of decimal points that you want to see. Okay, fine. Okay, okay. Let's move forward. So now that we know what is this, let's move forward. So it is used for various formatting stuff. So you can format times. Um, So write justified output. So you can control how the output can be displayed, whether it has to be padded or not. So padding is if it is like a 10 character length you want. If you do a right padding, it will be aligned to the right hand side. Or if you want to add zeros, it is going to add zeros to the right hand side if you specify as right padding. Or if you specify as left padding, it is going to add zeros to the left hand side. So 45 will become like 0, 0, 0, 0, 45. If you want to length 10, all 8 becomes 0 in the beginning, and end of it you will get 45. So that way this is all for various formatting. And if you want to print out only the hour minutes and seconds and all this stuff, so you can use all these formats to print out various timing related stuff, like year, how it has to display either in two, like just two digits, like 14, or you want to display 2014. You can control all that. Okay? Yeah, practice and let me know, like we can analyze same way as how we analyze that part 6. Okay, fine. This is one other example to display the formatting of the time. We are saying like percentage tf and percentage tt. So it's going to display today is, and it is displaying the day year, like a date in a mmdd, yyyy mmdd, and it is displaying the time as well. So that's the thing. Okay, full date and time. Formatter examples, a little more detail on format. Formatter class may also be used to format string data anytime. The following example shows that. So you have two formatters, and you can format the balance to a certain type, and you can use locale, like in US how it is displayed, in France how it is displayed, in some other locale is like that particular native stuff. Okay, so based on that we can display our formatting, like see my format locale dot format, and we used the balance here. So output is this, and here the output is 1, 2, 3, 4. So there is no comma that we used. So why it did not display comma? Maybe in locale of France they don't use comma. Probably they say 1 2 3 4 comma 5 6. That's crazy. So it depends on their native stuff. Okay, we can use probably INR too. Let's try doing that. In locale we don't have INR. That's interesting. Korea, Italy, Chinese, and English. Huh. We were safe. Locale has France, right? Yeah. Yeah, we didn't have ours to test. Okay. Anything that's UK is probably ours. And we don't have, we are not any different with this, right? Yeah. So we are not any different with this. That's okay. So there is one other feature introduced called variable arguments. What is that variable arguments is? Say, I'm going to accept these many string objects. Okay. See here, string year, make, model, and anything else about a car or an auto. Okay. That means any truck or anything. So not only these data, they can pass little more details. We don't know that, right? So those are called variable arguments. If the syntax is like this, string three dots and then a variable name is called. It can accept any number of string arguments, and it has to be only in the end. This variable arguments a feature supports you can pass n number of things to the same auto constructor, but this n number of things should be defined only in the as the last argument. Okay, this is called variable argument. A variable argument list allows specification of multiple cars with varying lists. That means it's already an overloaded method. Like you can invoke auto with a year, make, model, and one more argument, or you can call the same constructor year, make, model, and two more arguments like color and size, number of seats, and all that stuff. Like you can call n number of ways, but the same constructor can still be supporting that. Okay, so if you look at this example here, in the first example, 1969 Fiat 124 Spider 5 speed disc brakes, this one and this one both are going to call the same constructor because it is supporting variable arguments. Okay? Then there is one other feature called scanner input. That means you're going to enter data from a keyboard. Console input is not common in production programs, but it is very useful when learning Java. Like just like how I passed variable arguments. In the same way, we can ask the user to enter whatever name he thinks should be entered, and we can read that and display it. Right. So those we tried, I think, for Hello World. In the same way, to do that, previously we used system.in, and it reads the line method to access the keyword and requiring the IO exception to be handled and stuff like that. Java 5 introduced something called scanner class, designed specifically to reduce the amount of code needed to communicate with the keyword. Okay, what does this do? This is all old style. Like you are reading something from the keyboard and you are executing it and stuff like that. But if you move forward, okay, you're going to read it as system.in scanner. That means it did everything for you. You need not handle IO exceptions and all that. See here, the amount of code that we have written in the previous old style versus new one, just one line is taking care of everything, right? And you read something and you're going to display the values like from keyboard.next. So this is just one improvement in the kind of coding that we do from Java 5 onwards. Okay, then we have like various methods, or if you want to convert the string that you read as a big decimal, big integer, which has been in the list of strings that you pass on the command line, it can read all this stuff and display it for you. Okay, And concurrent API, we're going to talk about it in threads, like what are all the improvements that it did. Okay, there are like a bunch of new things that have been added. A string builder, we know it already, right? What is the difference between string builder and string buffer?
String buffer methods are synchronized, but string builder methods are not.
Okay, cool. So that's all started from Java 5 actually. Okay, and Java 6 incorporated some features on JDBC and stuff like that. So we will see all these in our XML class. Okay, and the JDBC also has some improvements there. So annotations we saw, compiler APIs have some improvements. This is just some overview about what all are there, and now you guys should be clear on generics. Actually, yesterday we were trying to analyze something on generics, right? If you go back to collections now, okay. So generics let you enforce compile time safety on collections, right? That you understand now. Like if you say um, any class that it is going to accept, compiler is going to complain if you pass in a different class, which is not extending at least, like which is not the parent class of the class that you mentioned. Say for example, an array list of animal can accept references of type dog, cat, or any other subtype of animal subclass, or if animal is an interface implementation. So that means anything that is either extending this guy or implementing that interface will all be okay with generics. Okay, and when using generic collections, a cast is not needed to get a declared type. That means if you say a list of string, and then if you say glist.get of 0, you need not typecast anything because already the glist.get 0 is giving you string. Okay, fine. And you can pass a generic collection into a method that takes a non-generic collection, but the result may be disastrous um, because it may also accept pass in objects that are not of this type, and typecasting may be a problem. The compiler can't stop the method from inserting the wrong type. Okay, what it is trying to say, you can pass a generic collection into a method that takes a non-generic collection. Yeah, that way during run, it's all compiler based checks, right? Compiler based checks may not be ultimate checks because during runtime is when it can determine the actual object. So that's why don't ever do that. If you are using generics, use both the caller and the calling method should have generics. Okay, if the compiler can recognize the type safe code is potentially endangering something you originally declared as type safe, and you'll get a compiler warning. For instance, if you pass a list of string into a method declared as this is what he was talking about, the example for the previous one, and you're adding a, see here, your generic list is this, but you're calling this method which is non-generic, and you're adding an integer within that method, which is like it which is going to throw errors. We cannot, it is hard to debug as well. Okay, compiles without error and is not same as compiles without warnings. A compilation warning is not considered as a compilation error or a failure, it is just a warning for you. And generic type information does not exist at runtime, it is for compile time safety. Mixing generics with legacy code can create compiled code that may throw a exception at runtime. That's why don't ever mix anything of those. And polymorphic assignment applies to the base type. Polymorphism, what is polymorphism? Can anybody talk about what is polymorphism?
Overriding is the concept of polymorphism. You can invoke in many forms,
Of the same object, right?
same
Or
object. Yes.
same methods, like many forms of the method, either in subclass or a superclass. And only during runtime we recognize what kind of object it is, right? It's not based off
Yes.
of reference type, it is based off of object type, right? So here, if you
Yes.
see, polymorphic assignments applies only to the base type, not the generic type parameter. So you can say list animal equals this and new array list equals to animal. But you can't say uh, animal and your object type is dog. No, you can't say it in the object type, you got to say it here. Okay, that's when it can recognize this. Okay. Then the polymorphic assignment rule applies everywhere an assignment can be made. So see here, you cannot take a list of dog, cannot return a list of dog within this, because it has to be reference type here. You specify it as animal. Okay, you specify it as animal but cannot return an object type. So the polymorphic assignment rule applies everywhere an assignment can be made, but not for return type. Okay, when you're actually declaring it you can do that, but when you're returning it, it has to be of type animal, but within that it can have an object of type dog. Am I making sense to you guys, or are you getting confused with this? So it's all inheritance, it all boils down to inheritance. Okay, are you guys following, are you guys with me?
Yes.
Okay. Any others, are you guys with me? Okay, so yeah, wildcard syntax, this is where it gets a little more confusing. See, if you were to return if you were to return subclasses, say suppose wildcard syntax allows generic method accept subtypes or supertypes of the declared type of the method argument. So that means, so if you say just a list of dog, it can take only dog. But if you say list of any object that extends dog, you can take a dog or a beagle. So that means anything that extends dog can also be part of it. Okay. So that means this question mark extends is called wildcard. The wildcard keyword extends is used to mean either extends or implements. Okay, so that means either subclass or any class, concrete class that is implementing the interface. Okay, so in this dog cannot be class or an interface. Okay? Dog can be a class or an interface. That is so any class that is implementing dog or anything that is extending dog can be part of it. Um, Then, when using wildcard, this is all fine. Declaration conventions for generics use T for type and E for the element. This is the generic standard implementations. T for reference type and E for the element. Okay. So if a particular element, if you want to check something, E is being used. See, add an object, E is used. Type is T is used. So you can use more than one parameterized type in a declaration. So you can use more than one by using T or X and stuff like that. You can declare a generic method using a type not defined in class. Okay, like this. So is not using T as a return type. This method has a void return type, but to use T within the method arguments, you must declare T, which happens before the return type. Okay, so you got to do this. So this particular T is used everywhere else in your methods. Okay, so whatever T that comes in, whatever object that comes in of type T, the same thing will be used in the method. Though it is void, you got to use that. Okay, this will probably cover everything in let's see, generics. I think we saw this, right? No, polymorphic assignment. Oh yeah, we saw this, right? um yeah, so now this completes generics. And any questions so far, like are you confused with various features that we talked about today, or are you comfortable, feeling okay?
The
Generics is very
last
important.
slide.
Say that again.
The last slide.
This one, yeah, you have something in here. Okay,
Uh, extends.
extends thing.
Yes, wildcard extends.
Yeah, that's the second one. What we are talking about here is if a particular method add d is there. Okay, so that add d, if you look at that void add d list of dog objects only, that means it is supporting only the list of dog objects. Okay, that means reference type of your objects is just dog. Okay, but it cannot extend, like it cannot identify, or it cannot return beagle objects, or anything that extends dog. Okay. The object type referenced should always be of type dog. That means dog dog equals to new dog, or dog dog equals to new beagle. Ultimately you are returning list of dogs only. If you are not returning list of dogs, if you are trying to return list of beagles, then first one will not be able to handle it. Okay. If you were to return any class during runtime, if you were to return any class, like say suppose I have a class, one is actually interested in list of dogs, another one is actually interested in list of beagle, you cannot use this method as generic way. Making sense? If you were
Yes.
to use it, you got to define the second method. So the same code can be reused, either it is of type dog or if it is of type beagle, and that list that is being returned can hold either beagle objects or dog objects.
Okay.
Did it make
Uh,
sense, or you need an example?
yes. The collection can be accessed but not modified. What about that?
Which one? Which method?
The fourth point, I think.
Fourth point. One, two, three, four. When using a wildcard list, the collection can be accessed but not modified. Oh, okay. So when using this list of dog, say suppose beagle, the collection can be accessed but not modified. Let's try to do that. Okay. So here in collections. Okay. So what I'm trying to do here is I'm getting a list of dogs. So it can be, I'm just trying out something here. Method add capture one extends dog in the type this is not applicable for the arguments of type dog. If I do add all, so fine. No, so okay, let me make it as big. Still the same, right? See, is not applicable for the arguments of type big. So that means this guy will not let us modify anything in here, okay? But So this was the thing, like that point is talking about when a list is declared like this, you cannot add stuff to this, but you can, like you can have other methods, like generally in projects how we do is this will be exposed outside as an interface, and internally implementations can be invoked, like any of these can be invoked, okay, internally.
Okay.
Like whether to get a list of dogs or cats. So internally, one of these is going to be returned. Like these are like private. Okay, so these will not be exposed outside. Only this piece will be exposed outside. That's when this should be generic and it should be able to handle both. That's why. But the construction happens somewhere else. It is just a wrapper method kind of stuff, exposed for outside world. Okay, is it making any sense to you?
Why cannot we modify that list? Uh,
Here, here.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
because the syntax is wildcard. It doesn't know whether it can handle the reference type. It can handle the reference type, but not the object type. Like see here. So that particular declaration is only on the reference type. It can handle only the object types, right? Based on the object type, it can allow whichever object you want to add or remove. It is just for read
Oh,
only reference. Like when you're returning it of this type, that means there is already a constructed list that you are trying to return. It can be of type dog or of its subclasses, but you do not exactly know which object you are returning back, right? It should be the caller. Like you are going to get a list of dogs, then you're going to say a list of dogs. Like caller knows it. You see what I'm saying?
okay.
Uh,
Okay.
again here it says like convert from this to this. It cannot be converted. Okay, so add a cast. That's when it starts converting it. Or change the list of dogs to something that extends. See here. That's when it knows. Okay, it's going to give me something. It's going to give me something that is extending this dog. Or you can just say, okay, list of dogs. Now you know that it can give list of dogs only, and you're going to typecast it. Then it is fine again.
Okay.
Yeah. So the thing is, it is just a generic method that's supporting both the object types. But for you to know which object type, yeah, you got to typecast it. And your question was also valid here. Like you're saying, why cannot I just add something, right? Right? List dot add new dog. So we do not know exactly what is a reference type of it. That's the problem. That's the reason why it doesn't let us allow. Okay. Or you can do something like this. If you were to modify, create another list, just like how we did it in a different method. Create another list of dog, and you can say add all of that. Probably that should work. Not dog, list of dogs. We are trying to add dogs here, and it still says that collection this extends capture of three in the type of this is not applicable. So cast arguments dogs to collection. Yeah, that's the thing. Like within this, it is not letting us add anything. No modification because it doesn't know which object which object we are trying to add directly. Or let me do one thing here. Probably it doesn't let me do it on a concrete class here. Yeah. So the thing is, it has to be used as a wrapper. Otherwise, it thinks we are trying to modify this guy. It doesn't let us modify it. It has to be read only because we don't know which object type it is coming back. Only the caller and the implementer knows. It is just a like a mediator. It is passing either dog or beagle, any of these types, back to us, and it is up to the caller to typecast and use it. Okay.
Can we assign a mixed list? Like means you are using get dogs, right?
Yeah,
In
here
that, if I add beagles
beagles
to the
within this.
list
Yeah,
within
let's.
the list get dogs method.
Yeah, let's see that. Hmm. List of dogs here, and new, no, not new, get list, get dogs, and within the get dogs, let's modify that. Yeah. So here is a get dog. Your question is,
Yes.
okay, can we add something else? If you're going to do like this,
Yes.
it's not going to complain anything, but you will not be able to access the methods specified only in Beagle. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, that we know already from inheritance, polymorphism,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Yeah. So here is the thing. Okay. So now it let us add it because it doesn't know the difference, right? Reference type I put it as dog. If I had put beagle, also it doesn't complain because
It's a
uh,
list of
yeah,
dogs.
subclass of it. Okay. But here you're going to get a list of dogs and you will not be able to access park. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, you'll not be able to access park. Let's see here. Get list of dogs of false. What did it say? Cannot convert from this. Add a cast to dogs, which is good. Now when you're iterating to dog, it's a void method probably. Why it is complaining? Is not
It's not
allowed.
returning anything.
Yeah, so I just when I call just this also it complained. So that's why I'm like,
We can remove this println statement.
yeah, we
Just
can do
call the
that.
dog dot bark.
Yeah, that's fine as well. Yeah. Yeah. So that's when you will be able to access it. Otherwise, it throws an error. And what else it is complaining? Uncast. So if we are doing this, we can do something else as well. Get list of dogs. I said false. So is dog, if it is true, if it is not true, it goes in here. Oh,
It's calling beagle.
see here, we did not get add the list of bagel, right? Uh, what's happening here? Get list of dogs. We said false, so it has to execute list of bagels,
Get
and
beagle.
it will go here. It would have gone. So park. What did I say? In park should be executed, right? Maybe it's not compiled. Let's see why it is doing this. Yeah, maybe it's not compiled. Okay, let's see now. So you have list of beagle, and so what it has to do is go inside this. Beagle is also an instance of dog, right?
Instance of dog.
Object type. Yeah, that's why it is executing only that guy. Okay, I see what's happening. Hmm. Instance of cannot be checked. Yeah, that's how we got to do. No better way. Like we got to check the instance of and invoke it. If we say instance of dog, yeah, because it is extending those guys, right? So that's why it doesn't say like. So I thought instance of will check the object type and it returns false for dog. I think it's the problem with our generic operator. I think. Let's see. Um, one more test. Dog equals to new dog. Beagle. If dog instance of dog. I think that was because of generics. Let me see if this what this does, because it has nothing to do with the objects in the list, right? Let's see here. Okay, so now it came in here. We declared something. Yeah, that instance of doesn't help when when you have inheritance. Then that's why we cannot use in instance of in between the same classes. If it is an instance of string and like two different classes, it's okay. But if it is inheritance, I think yeah, you got to do specific case like this and then typecast it. Otherwise, yeah, it doesn't help much. Hmm, how else we can see? Yeah, then we got to change all these guys. Doesn't make sense. Yeah, so if you know that you're going to get subclasses of it, you got to specifically check for those subclasses, not by instance of superclass. Then then you can invoke those methods. Like if you have some other class also extending dog, then you got to specifically check for those guys as well. Yeah. Any questions?
No.
Like, did you get the point? Like, did we address your concern?
Yes.
Okay. So, others, any other questions, or are we with us? Are you guys with us? Okay. So actually, we got to start IO stream as well. It's 8:30, 8:25. IO may not be completed in half an hour. Yeah, probably next week we got to keep the target like